thank you for coming in and being a part of this presentation. I'm going to ask you guys a pretty serious question. It has to do with our health insurance industry. I'm going to ask you, how would you feel about having to pay more just based on your BMI? And even further along those lines, how would you feel about having to pay more based on somebody else's BMI? That's the question that is readily at hand right now, because our nation's coming to a crossroads where we're going to have to make a decision, and all of us are going to be a part of that decision one way or another. It's already happening in Europe, and it's called a fat tax. So as you guys walked in, I gave you guys envelopes. I'm going to want you to imagine that in that envelope is a piece of mail from your healthcare provider, and on that piece of mail, it's going to be asking you to pay a much larger percentage. On top of that, if you're somebody that's at risk on the BMI scale, which is body mass index, you're not only going to be paying more, you're going to get a lower tier of your insurance. So just kind of keep that in mind as we go through our presentation today. I'd like to invite you to watch this quick little video, and it kind of pertains to what we're talking about. Okay, so along those lines, checking that out, I want you to go ahead and open up your envelope, and you're going to find exactly what I'm talking about, a BMI index. A quick note on the BMI index is it actually, like the video showed, it actually was invented by a mathematician and not somebody in the health industry. And yet it's being used now to determine if somebody is at risk, overweight, or obese. One of the books I used, and I got a lot of my my information out of, is a book called The Weight of the Nation and To Win We Have to Lose. In it, I found some pretty high numbers as far as dollar figures. Our nation right now is paying in upwards of $150 billion just towards obesity problems in the healthcare. Along those lines, also we're paying indirectly $139 billion. So that would be loss of wages, loss of production for people that are working, employers having to pay for sick leave, such things like that. Now, again, this book actually says that about 70% of all Americans are either at risk or already obese. I have a hard time believing that, because I know that lifestyle, it plays a big part in the fact that your body mass may or may not put you in that category. Now, somebody who's a bodybuilder and has a lot of muscle without a lot of fat would still fall in the category of obese. And I find that pretty skewed. Another thing I find pretty skewed after an interview with an infection control nurse from Shriners Hospital is the actual dollar figures. It just doesn't add up. After what she and I were talking about in the interview, she let me know that the majority of the money spent comes at the last 3 months of a person's life, whether it has to do with an obesity problem or another cause. So it's just something that I've really started thinking about. As a nation, we can't let something like this happen. We have to figure out, what are we going to do now to make things better? And I know that for me, it just comes down to a personal choice. I got to walk away from what I've been conditioned to do, which is eat at fast food places like your McDonald's and your Burger Kings and your Taco Bells. And I got to start deciding to pack my own lunch, eat a little more salad, walk away from some of the animal proteins, get some more vegetable proteins in my diet. Those are all great things to do, but it's not a magic bullet. I have to be willing to exercise. I have to be willing to be an activist and get out there and let people know that, hey, if we don't take an interest in our own lives, then the government's going to take an interest for us. Now, the health insurance industry is a business, and they're there to make money. They're not there to make us well. They're not there to give us money, to make problems go away. They're there to make money, and the way they make their money is by pooling everybody together and trying to basically play roulette and say, well, this person over here, this percentage is going to get sick, but this bigger percentage won't. And that's what we're banking on. So at the beginning, I asked you the question of how would you feel if you received a letter in the mail from an insurance company saying you were going to have to spend more money and get a lesser tier insurance program, or you were going to have to pay for somebody else's insurance that maybe they're high on the BMI. On the envelopes that you were passed, one of them had an X. Who had the X on their envelope? You're that one person out of the room. If you look at it, 75% of the people here would be considered by the insurance company to be overweight or obese. So just in sheer numbers alone, having nothing to do with looking at our actual BMI, you represent that 25% of the American population that isn't considered. And congratulations, you don't have to pay anything. We're all going to continue to pay for the increase in insurance. So again, thinking about that, thinking about people in your family, thinking about close friends, relatives, anybody that you might know, what would you be willing to do to help out this problem? You need to just start by making right decisions, especially about our lifestyle. Leading a good lifestyle, a healthier lifestyle, is a great way to go. But I, for one, won't stand and let the government tell one group of people that they're going to pay more, because once you start down that road, there's going to be a slippery slope, because then they're going to start going after people who smoke. After that, they're going to go after people that might have a different sexual preference. After that, they may decide to just say, well, you know, you get into minority groups such as African American, we're going to charge you more because of things like sickle cell. And it's not a good way to go. There's got to be a better alternative than just singling out a group of people. And I think that that's where this nation really has to get together and get out and actually vote, actually take an interest in our healthcare reform, because the reforms are there to help us, not hinder us as Americans. I thank you guys for your time, and I appreciate everything that you guys have decided to talk about and look at with me. And have a great night. Thank you.